When I moved Mom and Dad into the Coltens, one of the things that Peter knew, I was stressed. I had moved them twice in a year, and in fact less than a year. And one of the things, reassuring things he said to me was, you don't ever have to move them again. So I knew that as they came closer to the end of their lives, that I would not have to move them to a hospital. They had both signed DNRs, and he had them, and they were the official ones that their doctor had witnessed and signed off on. I already had power of attorney, power of health attorney. There was a point where I stopped taking them to doctors because Daddy by that time was 92, Mom was 89, and there wasn't anything we could do if anything was going wrong with them. It was a matter of comfort. And they were both maintaining their day-to-day health pretty well. There were small issues that were coming up. They never got sick at that house. My dad would get a cold, 2 colds, 3 colds every winter, where he would go down and he'd just go to bed and that was it. From the point we moved them in, neither one of them ever got the flu, ever got a cold. They didn't sneeze, they didn't cough. It was not a house where if one person got sick, it went all through the house. Peter had called me before I ever moved them in, and he said, I want a list of their favorite foods. I want to know what they can eat and what they can't eat. And I'll make sure that we keep those supplies on hand and that we don't serve them what they don't want. The other thing that impressed me when I walked in, other than the fact that the fresh air and just pristine, clean, was the warmth of the people who worked there. I know that in any kind of a care facility, the residents who live there are going to come and go for a variety of reasons. You can't count on the people staying the same, but you can count on the staff. And the people had been with Peter for 5, 7, 10 years, which to me spoke very highly of the Colten family. They have an activities director, somebody to do exercises, which is always really important to my parents. They had games, card tables, arts and crafts, which my parents would not participate in, but it was there for them if they wanted it. They also bring in musicians, and music for an Alzheimer's patient is just critical because it fires up the brain and gets the cloudiness out. So that was very important, and my father had been a saxophone player, so that music was really critical. From day one, they were taken care of. Mom died there, and when it got to the point where they needed to watch her round the clock, one person is there overnight, but boy, she was right on top of it. And hospice was there the last week only. So they had an avenue to call somebody because that really wasn't needed. I waited as long as I could to call in hospice because my mother was aware, and she knows hospice means end of life. And it's difficult as a child to you get the power of attorney and you start making these decisions. And I would tell anyone who has to do this, make sure you talk about it. Make sure you know what they want to do. Because all along, I knew I was honoring their wishes. That was the most important thing. But I was very well taken care of by the Coltens and their staff also when I was there. They would cry with me